I think Banishers Ghost of New Eden has some good stuff going for it, but there's also a good bit of stuff that's just pretty okay. Where I think Banishers excels is with its storytelling and haunting system, but I think its combat, skill system, and level design are average. I've been playing the game on normal over on twitch.tv/the Sandman King, and I put in just over 10 hours to it so far. I'm about halfway through the Harrows currently. Before we get into talking about what I like about the game and what I don't, let's talk about what Banishers is. Banishers is a third-person action-adventure RPG with a few Souls-like elements and systems in it, mainly limited healing items, campfires. The game's gameplay is more leaning towards God of War than it is Dark Souls, because it is a faster paced, more in the enemy's face combat system than something like Dark Souls, where you just keep putting pressure on until they're dead, and that normally works out. So I say it is an action-adventure combined with a Souls-like because you can save anywhere, but you can only upgrade your equipment, unlock new skills, fast travel, and regain your healing items at a campfire. I think the enemies respawn when you rest, but I honestly haven't rested that much, so I don't know if they actually do or not. And that's mostly what the connection is to a Souls-like game. Everything else, like I said, it feels a lot more like God of War when it comes down to the base systems. Banisher's upgrading systems are interesting if somewhat lackluster. So when it comes to inventory, your inventory is your basic action-adventure RPG inventory. You got like 6 to 8 slots of stuff that you can upgrade, that you can swap out whenever you want, and then upgrade whatever you choose to. Your equipment can be upgraded 7 times with the materials you collect throughout the world, and it does improve them, but you will find better equipment in terms of stats as you journey farther into the game. But they don't always have the special effect or the boost that you really want on them for whatever your playstyle is. So I've currently been just upgrading my equipment because I really like the boost that all my stuff has. And the other upgrading system that is, I think, fairly lackluster is the skill system within the game. From what I've played so far, Banisher's skill system, it does feel lackluster. The system is based on Antea's powers, which is the most interesting part of it. So as you unlock new powers by going through the game and defeating scourges, you unlock more skills to put points into. But I feel like there are a lot of passive skills and nothing that really helps vary your combat style other than like the perfect switch mechanics. And other than the perfect switch stuff, everything else in the skill system just kind of feels boring. Get 300 damage on your next attack if you kill something with a heavy attack. Red gets an extra 30% damage if the enemy is at full health. Like, everything will benefit you within combat, but it doesn't feel like it goes and changes up your combat style like something like God of War's different attack patterns would, because it is the same attack patterns all the time that you have. Speaking of combat, it's okay. Like, I think it's good, but it's not great, at least from what I've experienced so far, because of 2 major factors, I think. 1, it feels kind of floaty, and 2, the targeting camera sometimes isn't that great, especially in one of the major boss fights that I've been in. And I think the feeling of floatiness is mostly caused by the animation. With Red's light attacks, there's a lot of spinning, and it doesn't feel like the attacks have like that much weight behind them. Yes, I know they're called light attacks for a reason, but they could be like a little bit heavier slashes, it feels like. The heavy and the charged attacks are better with how they feel. I think that's fine. I just would like a little more weight behind the animations of the light attacks. And Antea's attack patterns are just kind of boring. You know, basically spam out the punch button, maybe add in a leap or a burst, and then switch back to red when you run out of bar for her. With her being a ghost/specter, I feel like her moveset should be a lot more interesting than Red's, but really it isn't. It just feels like a lot more bland, especially because there's not many like visual effects when you're attacking. There's just that little, like when you connect with a punch, there's a little burst. It's like it feels like it should be a bit bigger and a bit heavier. And also the camera, it doesn't always help with combat there. So my major problem with the camera is in the boss fight with the beast and targeting its different body parts during the different phases. You're always attacking towards the center of its body, not the body part that you're targeting. If there are other large bosses like this, then I can see the camera being pretty annoying during those fights. But other than that, I think the combat it's pretty good, but I don't think it's all that great. But where I think Banishers actually excels in, which isn't the combat, but it's storytelling. So there is something that does slightly put me off when I'm talking to the characters within the Banisher world, and that's the facial animation. I don't know if like it's uncanny valley level material or if it's something that's like just slightly off with their animation that makes it like uncomfortable. Like talking to the priest widow at the beginning of the game made me feel uncomfortable. Not, because of the setting and stuff like that. No, just the animation of how she was speaking. It just felt off. So something just felt off, and it made me a bit uncomfortable going and just watching her talk. But the good thing is you have characters like Red and Antea who I don't see that problem with when I'm looking at their animations of how they're talking. And these characters, I do actually I feel for some of these characters. I like Red and I like Antea as the main protagonists. I think they're really well written, and the dynamic between them is it's playful but serious. These characters feel human and they feel broken, but in a good storytelling kind of way. And they do what should be done in a game like this with two lead characters. They stop talking. It's not constant chatter like some other game from a year ago. It's information about what's going on or a little bit of banter between the two to ease the tension. But there are also moments of silence when you're running around the world. It's kind of nice. And speaking of running around the world, the regions of Banishers are visually interesting and they look really good, but I'm not a huge fan of their level design, using the corridor-based open world level designs. I think that kind of level design it's not my favorite. Let's just go with that. Especially in a game like this where they are now telegraphing where you're going to have to fight an enemy. Every fight takes place in a large open area. So if you come up to one through a corridor, you gotta fight there. I don't think I've had a single fight that was in a kind of smaller corridor leading to an area, or it was always a big, large arena. And that, along with the enemy designs, makes everything kind of feel the same when it comes to where you're going to fight. And I know it's a staple of the 3D action RPGs kind of design when they do the corridor-based open world stuff, but I'm not a huge fan of this kind of level and arena design or the enemy placement within it. What I am a fan of is this game's haunting system. It's basically like an investigation system that doubles as the quest system for the game. Basically, you talk to a person, find out that they're being haunted or, something's wrong. Then you look around their house or a specific area and find clues to learn about what's happening to them. Once you find all the clues, you can confront them, manifest the ghost of the person who's haunting them, and from there you decide who's going to be punished for what's happening. And the whole crux of the game is based on this system. Will you take human life to bring back Antea, or will you banish the ghost so the people can live in peace? It's all up to you. I think with Banishers Ghosts from New Eden, Don't Nod did what Don't Nod does. They wrote really good characters, they did really good storytelling and world building. But in my opinion, and yes, this is just my opinion, I think the gameplay is kind of bland and kind of, I wouldn't say weak, but it doesn't feel bad, but it doesn't feel great. It's just mediocre when it comes to combat and exploration and stuff like that. It's at the point of I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And that's really all I've got to say for Banishers Ghosts of New Eden. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, maybe subscribe for other content that I do have coming out, and I hope you have a royal day.